This is my dream creative studio. But just a few months ago, it was also my bedroom. And while I am a designer, I am not that great at installing stuff. Oh my god. Okay, so how did we get here in the first place? Well, as usual, it all started with a problem. So, I have a space problem. For a few years now, I've been slowly but surely converting my bedroom into a full-time studio space. First, I had one desk, then two desks, had a drawer that quickly filled up, so I needed another drawer. Then I got a 3D printer, needed filament, spare parts. Soon I was taking clothes out of my dresser and turning it into a makeshift toolbox, and I started to realize that if I was going to commit to my design practice for the near future, I needed to make a big decision. We need to get rid of the bed. That's right, no sleeping in 2026, because when you're trying to maximize a 12 by 13 room, you need every square foot you can get. Which brings us to my next problem. There is way too much stuff on my desks, and even with all of this surface area, this has always been an issue for me. These are all things that I use for my design practice. This can include books on design topics that I'm researching, any stationery, planners, or sketchbooks I use to record my ideas, and the tools to communicate my work like camera gear, batteries, cutting tools, measuring devices, etc. So I realized that I liked having quick access to these things, but also wanted my desks relatively clear for projects I'm actively prototyping or working on. So I set out on a plan for a complete studio makeover. For storage, I'll put some floating shelves over my desk setup. This way I can easily access all of my gear and materials without having things pile up on my desks. Next, I'll install a pegboard over my workbench area to hold tools for prototyping and making. Now, you may have noticed that my 3D printer is missing, and that's because we got a new 3D printer. Let's go! Is done. Now it's time to get some furniture. The past few years have been an interesting journey for me. I was constantly seeking new opportunities, changing cities, moving out, back in, back out again, and my space reflected this lifestyle. Between being a place for rest, somewhere to place my laptop, and little corners dedicated to my projects, it became clear that I had outgrown this hybrid living space. Suddenly, I realized that the little investments I had made in my tools, equipment, and design practice directly reflected my lack of commitment to going all in, which leads us to where we are now. Okay, so we got everything from IKEA. I moved the drawers that were there because in order for the shelves and the pegboard to align with the desks, everything had to shift over a little bit. I'll probably get a bigger desk in the future, but first I wanted to see how everything came together with the curtains I got at IKEA. Felt like the studio needed another element, another texture to soften everything. Also to replace my shower curtain diffuser setup that I had going on that was just held up by push pins. So excited to see how that comes together. And then to map out where I wanted the floating shelves, I used painter's tape that was the same width and cut them to scale. The initial placements felt a little too high for me, so I lowered the bottom shelves to be a bit below eye level. And for the distance between the upper and lower shelves, I referenced my design books to find a good height for them to stand and be clearly visible. Part of me is nervous because it's like blank slate, blank canvas, and I'm doing something kind of permanent, which is the point. To establish myself. Also the idea of establishing roots into something you don't know is going to work out. So still getting over that, and we'll see how it comes together. think it's a wood stud, so nice to know. Forgot to do the sticky note on this one. Something I picked up from Handyman Graham, little sticky note to catch the debris. So I was kind of second guessing the height for those upper shelves. They just felt a little too high for me. And I felt like I just needed to visualize how everything looked, so I put the desk back, put some things like my design books and magazines, plants on there, and I think the distance is a lot better and doesn't look so stark. I like being able to access this kind of at a little bit below eye level and then have that shelf be up there for some other extra storage. So yeah, coming together. Over the years, everyone has always told me to find the right playground. A place where I can experiment, fail spectacularly, and realize my creative vision. And now, I finally feel ready to make that happen. This is my dream creative studio. A space for learning, fabrication, and digital production. My main desk has everything I need for my digital work and sits across my work table for prototyping and making. Because of my shelves, it's super easy to access my reading materials and keep my desks clutter-free. The other shelf holds all my tech gear, making it super simple to whip out my camera, switch out my lenses, and record for the day. On the other side of my studio is my 3D printer and workbench. I switched the knob hardware for these steel ones, and I was blown away by how premium my drawers now felt, reminding me how even the smallest upgrades can make the biggest difference. And after getting the shelves and the curtains set up, the studio finally felt like it was in a good place. This may have been a bit of an impulse buy. It's a chalkboard. Now you're probably wondering, Joshua, why do you need a chalkboard in 2026? And the answer is for one simple reason. I wanted to use Hagoromo chalk. Originally made in Japan and now manufactured in Korea, Hagoromo makes chalk unlike any other. It creates less dust, keeps your hands clean, forms beautiful lines in bold colors, and is the perfect medium for writing down notes and sketching my ideas. Now, the studio isn't what I consider to be done by any means. There's still a bunch of areas and corners in my studio I'd love to keep working on. Even while making this video, I started looking at my closet and all of that unused potential space. But I think that's for another video. Now, if you're a designer, artist, creative, or everything in between, you obviously don't need all this stuff to do your work. But if you're like me and have been going through the ups and downs of the creative path, you know how fulfilling a good studio space can be. A place you can fully customize to your liking, and be a playground you can return to time and time again. And if you're watching this video, maybe it's your sign to start your own. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.